These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mekhi and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a scoop session and a reckless speculation Thursday here.
Reckless speculation.
With our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We were all out at Vikings training camp. Well, Declan was out watching the Twins with one of their biggest wins of the year yesterday, which we can talk about. But the three of us were out at Vikings training camp. And Dukes, I mean, there's any number of different ways we can start this scoop session. So it's choose your own adventure. Mekhi Blackmon, torn ACL. We've got the Christian Darrisaw contract details that have come out. And Sam Darnold looked really good throwing bombs to Justin Jefferson. So you pick a place and start wherever you want to, Vikings.
All right, well, hello, boys. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. The Darrisaw extension is interesting. Rob Brzezinski working his magic once again. We are looking at his 25 cap number going down from what it was going to be. So the Vikings still will have a ton of cap space next March. So keep an eye on that. The Vikings, I'm telling you, like whether it's Kenny Clark, some other premier interior defensive lineman, like you look at an obvious need next March, the Vikings will be all in that regard. Heck, they were all in on Christian Wilkins. He just happened to choose the Raiders instead of the Vikings. It was a bad day, right? Like, I don't know how else to sugarcoat it. When you lose a cornerback who is going to play a lot, they love Mekhi Blackmon.
Yeah.
Like, Judd, you pointed it out a few weeks ago. Byron Murphy is better inside. You are going to have 3 cornerbacks on the field a lot. So Byron inside, your outside cornerbacks, Shaq Griffin, Mekhi Blackmon. Okay, now maybe there's a chance for Caleb Evans or who knows, Andrew Booth Jr., who I had an interesting conversation with yesterday. But yeah, I'm just telling you, they love Mekhi Blackmon. This is very, very unfortunate news. I was watching from the far side, the opposite side, and so it happened to my left. It would have been the right if you were from the quarterback standpoint. And so I saw him go down. I texted you guys. I wasn't sure in the moment. Could it have been a cramp? You know, it was obvious it was something lower leg in that knee area. Then we later found out it was indeed a torn ACL. I saw him on a cart after practice. He seemed, just in that moment, seemed okay. He was texting a few people. I believe he was on his way for an MRI. So he didn't know in that moment, although they oftentimes know with that initial testing, okay, that ACL is torn. But it just stinks. I mean, there's no other way to look at that first day of training camp other than to say it was a bad day when you lose a key player for the season.
Yeah. And now the cornerback room, I mean, there's no good way to transition from the fact that the guy is hurt. But, I mean, the tragic death of Kyrie Jackson. They signed Duke Shelley a couple of days ago, but I don't even know, and I know he's a likable guy, and I know fans love Duke, but I don't even know he really profiles as a Flores corner. He's smaller. I can't help but think that Kwesi is on the phone this morning, making some calls, trade possibilities. There are a few guys left out there, veteran free agents not signed yet.
Xavier Howard.
Yeah, but the problem with him is his knees might be shot. But there's Stephon Gilmore's out there, Adoree Jackson. Long story short, I got to think they're going to bring somebody else in because I think with the way that the league works now, where you're in nickel, let's say 65% of the time, Mekhi Blackmon was technically going to be a starter. Now it's a Caleb Evans who I don't know that they trust as much. They definitely don't trust your guy Booth, and we'll talk about your discussion with him because it was intriguing. But I got to think we're working the phones now to bring in, at least for a look-see or a visit, a veteran cornerback.
Well, I mean, Najee Thompson is down too. So that's a knee injury. And I get it. He's special teams. But just thinking about just reps, right? Yeah. You need a certain amount of cornerbacks. They need to bring in somebody. So, yeah, undoubtedly, they are on the phone. Najee Thompson, by the way, I'm told mid-August. So he'll be sidelined for a few more weeks with that knee injury, although this is not, multiple months or anything like that. But unfortunate news for Najee Thompson, who was very good last year on special teams. To me, with his special team skill set, a lock to make the 53-man. Yeah, I mean, I've reached out to some people. I mean, there's J.C. Jackson, who has a history with Brian Flores.
Yep.
The issue with Xavier Howard, just Google his name. I forget the exact details, but there's some
'em.
troubling stuff with Howard. I would be surprised. I get it. He has the history with Flores. Phil, do you have the details? I'm not sure the Vikings go down that path.
Yeah. So I'll just summarize it. He was accused of sending. So he did an explicit video with a woman that he was with, and then sent the video. I think he sent the video to like one of her kids or something. I do have the full details. We will go into them on Purple Daily as we go through some of the options here. But like, it's just like a weird thing that came out a couple months ago. Now, Stephon Gilmore, I believe, played under Brian Flores and company with New England like 7 years ago. So, but Gilmore's like 34, 35 years old, and he's kind of bounced around different teams. But he does also have experience in that Bill Belichick, Brian Flores type of defense. That's a really interesting one that's still out there. Maybe even above Xavier Howard. Patrick Peterson.
He's out there as well. He's an old man, but he's out there. And these guys
I'm not even sure he's a cornerback at this point, but likable guy. I mean, there are options, right? I mean, there's a number of guys. I mean, heck, maybe they just bring in some other guys, maybe not these big names, for a workout. Like they had Trenton Cannon, a free agent running back in, who's been around, but not a household name. They had him in for a workout yesterday. They're not going to sign him, but maybe they bring in some cornerbacks as soon as today for tryouts, then ultimately sign one of those guys before Monday's first practice in full pads. But yeah, I mean, there are enough guys. I mean, heck, do the Saints eventually trade Marshawn Lattimore? Would you go big on something like that? Not that I've heard that. I'm just throwing that out there. James Bradbury in Philadelphia, what's his future? So you could trade for a guy, but the problem is the Vikings only have so much draft capital looking at 2025. To me, it makes more sense to sign a free agent. So, yeah, certainly top of my mind. I'll continue to send some text messages. J.C. Jackson, is he done? Because with his history at Flores, like he signed a monster contract at one point. He would be the guy that I would take a look at maybe more than anyone else. But I just don't know if he's cooked. Maybe he's cooked at this point, that there's nothing left. But that was the first name that came to my mind.
James Bradbury, by the way, I saw some quotes from new Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio this morning, has been moved to safety in Philadelphia. So I don't know if that means he's cooked as a cornerback or that they just didn't like him in their system. I think the reality is this. I think you're going to have to do something to get somebody that can legitimately compete, though, for a starting job. Like, you probably need to try to replenish the room right now a little bit. But if you have any hope, and Flores wants to play more man, if you have any hope of executing that, I think you're going to have to take a long, hard look at bringing in a veteran who can at least hold up, don't you?
Yes, I agree. But who is that guy? Who is capable? Maybe it is Gilmore. Maybe even at 34. Has he turned 35 yet? But Gilmore to me is the best player that is still out there. Okay, so 33, 34 in September?
Yes, he'll be 34 in September.
Yeah, do it for 1 year.
Like, to me, he is by far the best option. Maybe you can make a case for Howard. But yes, the knees, then the off-the-field stuff, which, hey, maybe that turns out to be nothing. But it's something right now. So I don't know if you go down the Howard path. So to me, I guess if you're just looking at the best overall player, that's Gilmore. But I just wonder about J.C. Jackson's history with Flores. Now, hey, you mentioned Gilmore. Is that true? So was Flores there when Gilmore was in New England?
Yep. So Gilmore was in New England from 2017 through 2020, and that means he was with. I mean, now Flores was a linebackers coach for 2 years while he was there, but it's a lot of the same defensive philosophies that they were both ingrained in on the Bill Belichick under the Bill Belichick learning tree, so to speak. So yeah, they were together,
yeah,
but he wasn't a direct position coach.
Sure, which is okay, but he has working knowledge of, the player, the work ethic, all that stuff, the sort of teammate he is, how he is in the DB's room, even though he wasn't the direct coach. So there's enough working knowledge there. Yeah, I mean, bottom line, they need to bring somebody in, just like, the tragic passing of Kyrie. They were always going to bring a corner in. Okay, we find out it was Duke Shelley. They are going to bring a cornerback in. Now, hey, they work out a running back now. Dwayne McBride is okay. It was actually an illness that they thought would be a bit longer. He recovered, thankfully. So Dwayne McBride was taken off that NFI list. And so maybe they don't need to be as aggressive in trying to sign a running back. But like cornerback, when you lose a corner and Najee is down for a couple more weeks at least, you are going to bring in some corner. So clearly that is something we need to be paying attention to.
Yeah. Well, this would be a great opportunity for, say, a young former second-round draft pick to step into the void and maybe take the ring for the first time here. I mean, Andrew Booth Jr., it's, the Vikings line up for 11-on-11 team drills for the first time yesterday. And it was like the third or fourth snap, and Sam Darnold throws a 55-yard pass over the head of Andrew Booth Jr., who is trailing Justin Jefferson by like 8 or 9 yards. Jefferson catches it in stride. So that was like the first snapshot of Booth Jr. in full team, was just getting absolutely smoked by Justin Jefferson on a Darnold deep ball. Again, Dukes, this is the chance for Andrew Booth Jr. He's trying to make the team. They also need starting caliber cornerback play here. You did catch up with him after practice, and the video was tweeted out by you. But what were your impressions just talking to him yesterday?
Yeah, well, same as it's always been. Interesting guy. I actually enjoy my back and forth with Andrew. I think I've built up a bit of, at least him being willing to open up with me as much as possible. I appreciate him saying, you know what, let me show you. Now, that doesn't mean he'll be able to show us, but hey, I can talk all I want to talk. That, hey, I need to win a job. Hey, I haven't shown much my first 2 years. Hey, I need to live up to being an early second-round pick. But he's like, let me show you. And so, yeah, it's an enormous 5 weeks for Andrew Booth Jr. But I get the reluctance if anybody's like, we've seen enough. It's just not there. Like, you mentioned the bomb that Darnold hit Jefferson on with Booth being nowhere near Justin. He slipped on another long completion. I believe it was 7-on-7. But and hey, it happens, right? But he slipped. From what I saw, it was not a great day for Andrew Booth Jr. Limited reps, of course. And hey, he could have a great day today. He can flip very, very fast. But yes, in this moment, I get it why he's on the roster bubble. There are no guarantees. Him and Lewis Cine, who was taken just a few picks before him.
And I think part of the biggest problem with both of those guys taken early in the 2022 draft is I don't think now they fit what Flores wants. And it's partially mental. It's partially smarts. Josh Metellus is a brilliant football player, right? Like you're given, like ideally Cine is Josh. Like he should be the guy who's sort of the hybrid. You're a safety, but you're a linebacker. Now you're blitzing, right? But you got to understand that. That's a lot there. Metellus embraces it. That guy is really smart. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Cine's got that. You're back and forth with Booth. I would say this. I don't know how much is there again. This is a defense in which you got to be a really bright person. And the Vikings have a lot of really bright players. And you're back and forth with Booth with sort of this, I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be a light bulb.
Well, the lights were on. I don't know if anyone was home.
Exactly. But Flores B-Flow has a lot of guys who the lights are on.
Yeah.
And
people are home.
And that's why, I got into a back and forth on X this morning with someone, doesn't matter what his name is, who even
Bob
knows
7532896.
Yeah. He's trying to group Ryan Asamoah in the same tier, same ranking as Andrew and Lewis. And to me, Asamoah, the smarts are there. I'm not saying he's first team, but he can make enough of an impact on special teams. Yeah. He got dinged up in training camp last year. It impacted him all year. He underwent surgery back in January. Brian Asamoah, I'm sorry. I don't put him in the same category as Lewis Cine, as Andrew Booth Jr.
Yeah.
By that.
But I'll also tell you, when talking about smarts, Cam Bynum. Cam Bynum is incredibly smart.
Yep.
There has been zero traction on a contract extension. I really thought that would get done before Darrisaw. Now, hey, on Darrisaw, the Vikings had some urgency because wait until you see the Tristan Wirfs extension. Wait until you see the Rashawn Slater extension. So there was a sense of urgency. And hey, the Vikings have done a bunch of deals with Drew Rosenhaus going back to March. Aaron Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard. And so the Vikings have this great chemistry right now with Drew and his brother and the Rosenhaus agency. And so, that led to this deal being done. And hey, I always thought the Darrisaw deal would get done. I just didn't think it would get done right now. But I thought Cam Bynum might get done, and it still could get done. But talks haven't even gotten off the ground. But when talking about smart guys, yeah, Josh, incredibly smart. Harrison Smith, incredibly smart. And Cam Bynum, incredibly smart as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. The contract structure came out here from Over the Cap today. And I think the thing I love the most is that the Vikings still maintain a ton of cap flexibility for 2025 for next spring.
That's it.
To load up, front load, contracts as they wish. They're still top 8 in overall cap space, even after the Jefferson and Darrisaw extensions. And when you look at the Darrisaw contract, it's really not burdensome. First of all, the big cap numbers don't kick in until 2026. And even then, it's only 8% of the overall projected cap. And like you said, we're probably going to see some contracts eclipse what he got soon. And then again next year, and then the year after that. So it feels like they just locked up one of the best left tackles in the NFL in the middle of his prime years for, I'm not going to say a discount, but for something that's really reasonable on paper.
That's why it got done, right? I mean, I'm not saying Darrisaw can't claim a win, but yeah, I think it was an easy yes from the Vikings standpoint. Now, hey, if you're Darrisaw, you've been through multiple agents, okay? So you're in your third agent, and you haven't played a full season yet. And so there are some durability questions at least. We know how good he is when he's on the field, but can he play all 17 games? So you think about that. So I get it. You put pen to paper when you get that sort of guaranteed money, right? Life-changing money. He talked to us yesterday about how his mom and dad now will never have to work another day in their lives, right? Incredible, right, for him, for his family. But if you're the Vikings, Phil, you just laid it out. I mean, the largest cap number is 28. By that time, the contract is either renegotiated or he's not here. But when talking about 25, his original cap number for 25 was $5 or $6 million higher. Mm-hmm. And so they lower the cap number for next year. That is key. I'm telling you, the Vikings are going to be very aggressive in free agency next March.
And the one thing that we probably should explain too is when you sign a guy like Jefferson or Darrisaw to an extension during the course of their rookie contract, the rookie contract remains intact. So if you go to the over the cap right now for Darrisaw, I think he is the highest paid left tackle in the league. But the reality is his rookie contract isn't terminated. So you hold on to that as well. Now you can move things around and be creative. But yeah, I think that this was a smart preemptive strike. I think in the case of Justin Jefferson, his contract will be surpassed. I don't know if we're ever going to hear about him being upset, though. I think in Darrisaw's case, in about 3 years, if he continues to play really well, it might be that was, to Phil's point, a bargain. So this is where the Vikings got Daniil in a different way as well. So yeah, I think this is incredibly smart. And again, you guys, this all adds up and points to a couple of things. And I think that is that 2025 and 26 are the go for it years. Next year could be absolutely huge. When you look at free agency, draft, and this current team.
I mean, look at the free agent cornerbacks, look at the free agent interior defensive linemen. Maybe another position arises over the course of the next handful of months. But yes, the Vikings are positioning themselves. That's what happens when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. Right now, hey, JJ still needs to live up to expectations, right? I mean, that's a big part of this equation. But yeah, the idea is when you have JJ making somewhat minimal money, comparatively speaking, to so many other quarterbacks, hey, you can go all in on free agency. So yeah, I fully expect the Vikings to do so next March.
Yeah. Any other Vikings nuggets, or can we get into the Twins just won a huge series against the Phillies? We got the trade deadline coming up here on Tuesday. We should also mention real quick here that we are hosting on Tuesday next week a SKOR North Twins Show trade deadline watch party at Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. So mark your calendars. Tuesday, July 30th, 4 p.m. at Park Tavern. 5 p.m. is the trade deadline. And then 6 p.m., Twins play the Mets. And you can watch that game, as you can watch every game on TV with us at Park Tavern. But we got some fun giveaways. We'll be hanging out and cheersing some drinks, recapping the trade deadline, and watching some Twins baseball. That's the official sports bar of the Sports Dad, Park Tavern, by the way.
Darn straight. Darn straight. Great beer, great food, great apps, great conversation. And you know what? If you want to drop in some Vikings talk as well, feel free, because I'm going to be spending all weekend in the 90-degree heat.
Oh, yeah.
Just sweating and taking notes for you.
Better
Dukes,
be taking some videos, too.
A video, yeah. I'm a how talented am I?
I know you are.
I'm 54, and I'm like this unbelievable, multi-talented TikTok, like 20-year-old producer kid now.
Judd 1, technology 0.
Amen.
Yeah, I wish.
Final score. A couple other Vikings notes. So, good job by you, Judd. I mean, I was in TV mode, like trying to grab one good soundbite from like 9 guys after practice yesterday. I'm glad you followed up with Dalton Reisner with a few questions about the move to right guard. I mean, just it points to, we said it in the moment, the Blake Brandel contract screams starter. Like, you don't give a backup that sort of money. And I get he's got some position flexibility, but like Blake Brandel, starting left guard. So who is the starting right guard? Is it Dalton Reisner or is it Ed Ingram? Ed Ingram, I had a nice conversation with him after practice. Good mindset, right? Feels like he's on the right trajectory. Feels like he had a good April, May, June, ready to go for his third training camp. But it seems like that right guard battle is more interesting than the left guard battle. Also, Robert Tonyan, the tight end, I'm impressed by this. He hung out with some of the offensive linemen, some of the quarterbacks. It was a handful of weeks ago. They went to go play Whistling Straits, very challenging golf course. Told me he shot an 82. I was like, Robert, holy cow. That's super impressive. An 82 at Whistling Straits. So that was another note that I gathered yesterday.
Man, yeah, so the guard battle, it's funny because all along we've been looking at left guard, right? Even with the Brandel contract, because Reisner has only played left guard his entire career in the NFL. He's played, like 3,500 or 4,000 snaps all at left guard. But it's all, I don't know, in the background, it's always kind of felt like Ed Ingram's job shouldn't just be ironclad. So do you think it's a right guard battle, or do you think it's a battle for both positions? It's 3 guys and 2 of them are going to be starting at left and right guard. Or do you think Brandel is the left guard?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately week 1, Blake Brandel is the left guard, assuming health. But like, Judd, did Dalton tell you he's exclusively a right guard? Like, I would imagine at some point he's going to get some left guard reps.
He played a left guard rep or 2. I'm fairly positive yesterday.
He did, yeah. And so he's going to continue to get some looks there.
I think what they're doing is they want to determine if Dalton can be a swing guard. And so I think that they're going to work him second team right guard. Now, if that turns into a competition with Ed, that's fine. But he also, and I didn't know this, he told me that in his life, high school, college, and pros, he has never played a snap at right guard in a game. Ever.
That's crazy.
He's played tackles. He's played center. Obviously left guard. He said, I have never taken a snap in a game. And he couldn't even recall if he had done it in practice in college. Said he felt good. Said it's an adjustment because we've talked about this, like this assumption. Well, it's just guard is guard. No, you got to change your footwork and your techniques. But said he's never played that position in a game in his life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Can he play multiple positions? They know he can play left guard. So can he be that 6th, 7th offensive lineman week 1? So maybe it is Ed Ingram at right guard, Blake Brandel at left guard, but inevitably some injury occurs, and he's the main backup at both guard positions. And you've got Quessenberry at tackle. You've got the guy they drafted out of Oklahoma that maybe makes the 53-man, or maybe he's more a practice squad guy. But they really enjoy the depth they have. They've got Feeney as well, right? So that's another guy that's been around for a while. So, Kevin O'Connell talked to us about that yesterday, how he really enjoys the depth they have at offensive line.
Yeah. Twins. Anything brewing on the trade front? Any sort of reckless speculation you want to toss out there between now and
Yeah,
Tuesday?
well, I mean, I fully expect them to do something, and it seems like talks are starting to pick up in this moment. Yesterday into today. Now, hey, it's Falvey, it's Levine, it's Zoll, it's Adler, right? I mean, they're all making calls. Like, they've checked in on all these guys, right? I mean, they've checked in on Kikuchi. They've checked in on Flaherty, right? I mean, I'll still be surprised if they bring in a Tyler Anderson type that's got big term for 2025, unless you're sending out some sort of 2025 money. But they've checked in on all these guys. Now, when it comes down to like hardcore offers, I think that's more Saturday into Sunday, into Monday, into Tuesday morning, right? So we're still a little ways out from that, but I fully expect them. I'm telling you, Phil, like they see this window being wide open, that there is no clear-cut dominant team in the American League. Now, hey, if you want to argue the Baltimore Orioles, fine, I'll listen a little bit on the Orioles. But there's every opportunity to win the American League pennant, and they want to seize this opportunity. So I will be very, very surprised if they do nothing.
I didn't get any sense either, by the way, because I got a couple comments about it. I didn't get any sense they were interested in James Paxton, at least immediately. I know he got DFA'd by the Dodgers. Obviously, David Festa pitched very well yesterday, but there probably is still an opening there. They are going to add likely a starting pitcher by the deadline, but I didn't get any sense that James Paxton was on their radar. I wouldn't have mind picking up the phone and trying to figure it out, but interesting arm that is still also out there on the free agent market, or whenever
yes.
he does.
And I'm glad you followed up on that. I mean, I brought his name up on Tuesday just from the standpoint of a couple Twins players in the clubhouse on Monday had brought up, hey, I wonder if we'll go after him. I mean, there was no actual evidence that the Twins front office was going to do that, but I brought it up in the Tuesday conversation from that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, whether it's the Red Sox or somewhere else, yeah, Declan, it makes sense that James will end up elsewhere. Jordan Lyles signing a minor league deal with the Dodgers this morning. The Twins were never involved in those conversations, but I'll remind you, they were involved in the conversations. Nick Anderson chose the Dodgers, the reliever, the former Kansas City Royal. The Twins tried to bring him back into the organization.
Hey, Dukes, what's your sense on what the Twins would be willing to give up for a guy, if we're talking about, because I think we're for sure going to be talking about a rental, but there's so many teams because of the excess wild cards now. Like, there's not a lot of teams that are probably going to sell. So if the Twins will take on the rest of, hypothetically, let's say, Kikuchi's salary, what's your sense what they would be willing to give up from their prospect pool, knowing that the competition for guys like that is probably going to call for you to give up more than you probably ideally would want to?
Yes. So you think about it. Cleveland can use a starting pitcher. Baltimore could use a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
The LA Dodgers could use a starting pitcher. Who am I leaving out, Declan? I mean, there's more than that, but those three instantly come to mind. And so the price is probably a bit higher, right? Now, I'll be surprised if, Walker Jenkins goes anywhere. Like, they're not trading Walker Jenkins. They're not trading a Brooks Lee.
But like a top 10 prospect?
Yeah, who?
No, I'm saying I think in the Twins' perfect world, they get a guy whose contract is going to end for like a 11 to 15 prospect. Perfect world.
Yes, perfect world.
I think reality, it's probably going to have to be, let's just start this off with a 6 to 10 prospect.
Yeah.
Do you think they do
So,
that?
I mean, I don't have the list in front of me, Declan. Who would you put in that 6 to 10? Gabriel Gonzalez.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think they're trading Zebby Matthews, but would Zebby Matthews be in that 6 to 10 range?
He's shot up. I mean, he's now a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. So right now, there's 6 through 10 guys in order are Gabriel Gonzalez, Marco Raya, who's actually had kind of a down year after being very highly touted in their organization coming into the year. Charlie Soto, who's in A-ball, who's another arm. CJ Culpepper, not the draft pick, the other Culpepper. There will be hopefully 2 Culpeppers in this Twins farm system.
Yeah, there will be. Yeah.
Who's also another pitcher at A-ball. Tanner, is it Schobel, who's a infielder that's at Double-A right now. Yeah, I would be like Walker Jenkins and Brooks Lee are number 1 and 2. Emmanuel Rodriguez is hurt right now, but I think there's a line drawn after Brooks Lee and Walker Jenkins, as in there's an untouchable there. I don't believe those 2 guys are on the market. I think anyone else, though, is 100% in play.
Okay, although on Rodriguez, how surprised would you be if they moved him for a rental? Because I would be surprised.
Yeah, I would lean surprise. It also depends on the rental. Like Kikuchi, yeah, I would be surprised. Jack Flaherty, maybe.
I mean, they've checked in, right? I mean, they didn't have much free agent interest in Flaherty, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're making all these calls. They need to at least take the temperature, figure out what the price is. So, I mean, they've checked in on all these guys. Where is Luke Keeschel on that list? Declan?
Number 5 right now after the latest update. He's the 5th best prospect in the organization.
Because you think about the middle infield depth.
Yeah.
Now, hey, after watching Eddie Julian take strike three, we saw it in St. Paul. Heck, he'll be back in St. Paul here pretty quick with Royce Lewis, Jose Miranda ready to go on Friday in Detroit. Jose Miranda will play again today for the Saints, assuming all goes well. There's no hiccups, right? Miranda Lewis back with the Twins. So there's 2 roster moves that need to take place. Inevitably, right? Like Eddie Julian is going to be one of those moves. But you think about him, you got some guys in that middle infield. Kalen Culpepper, yes, I get it. The Twins have signed a lot of their draft picks, but not their first draft pick, Kalen Culpepper. But like everything I've been told, it's going to happen. The Twins start their rookie minicamp down in Fort Myers this week. So all those guys took physicals. They're all down in Fort Myers. So you think about, DeBarge, right? His ability to play the middle infield, their pick at pick 33. They have guys, right? So that's where I wonder if a Luke Keeschel, who was just on full display in the Prospects game All-Star weekend, like, do you think about a guy like that for a rental just because you have some middle infield depth? And that's where it goes to, Judd, right? To me, it's a seller's market, not a buyer's market, right? Because there's only so many guys, because so many teams still feel like they have a crack at this thing, that it is pretty darn wide open. It's not just the Twins who feel like the American League is wide open. I'm sure the Royals, right? I mean, maybe laughable to some extent, but I'm sure the Royals think, hey, like, we can win the American League. A lot of these teams feel like the Red Sox feel like, hey, we can win the American League. The Houston Astros are feeling like that, and they're barely above 500. And so, it's tough. So you're probably going to have to go in that 5 to 7 to 8 range, not that 11 to 15 range. Yeah, surely, ideally, you're dealing prospect number 11 for a rental like Kikuchi, but you got to go higher than that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked if one of these middle infielders would be on the table because they have some depth there.
Yeah. He's Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. Scoops here every Tuesday and Thursday on SKOR North. Good stuff, dude.
Couple more. Mark Laurie, Alex Rodriguez, some other Wolves folks heading over to Paris. I know Mark and Alex will connect with at least one higher up in the Wolves organization for the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And I forgot to know Terrence Shannon Jr., he left one of the Wolves Summer League games in Vegas last week. It was listed as a toe injury. I'm told it was a toenail issue. Nothing, zero to worry about on that front.
Okay, so he's fine. He's got no structural damage, maybe to the nail, but not to the bones of his foot. That's good. All right, Dukes, great stuff. We'll talk to you on Twins trade deadline day next Tuesday. Recap a weekend of Vikings practice, too.
I like it. See you, boys. Have a great weekend.
All right.
See you, Dukes.
Appreciate it. There it is. Minnesota Sports with Mekhi and Judd. Doogie with some inside information, a little reckless speculation. And hopefully we see a bunch of you out at Park Tavern next Tuesday, July 30th, for the SKOR North Twin Show trade deadline watch party. See you guys.